All right, welcome to Talkin' Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to do an update on Bitfarms, stock ticker BITF. Bitfarms is a Bitcoin mining company. We've covered them a lot on the channel. We cover Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners quite a bit, so if that's content that you're interested in, and if you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if everybody would please smash the like button, that helps the channel out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And lastly, you will see in our pinned comment a link to our free Discord. So we talk about the Bitcoin miners and crypto quite a bit over there, and we get to discuss a lot more over there than I can on the channel. For instance, last night, one of our members attended the Bitfarms annual shareholder meeting, and he was giving us updates in real time on the Discord. So it's a great place. It's free. I appreciate that to our member who was doing that. I won't mention him by name because I don't know if he wants me to, but thank you very much for that. That was great. I want to go through Bitfarms because they put 2 press releases out in the last week. So they have had to reshuffle things fairly dramatically. However, I'm going to go through what they did, what the ramifications are, where that leaves them at the end of this. I will tell you, this certainly was not plan A for them. However, having said that, I do think they leave themselves in a better situation now that this is all done. So Bitfarms is one of my higher conviction plays, so I'm paying close attention to this. And I'm going to try and give a balanced, honest review here as to what they did, because this did have some negative consequences. So it's not disastrous, but I want to go through the good and the bad and talk about where this leaves them. Okay, so the first press release was on June 17th. Bitfarms executes strategic actions increasing financial flexibility. Okay, that's a nice spin that they've put on it. They did do that in reality, but you're going to see that wasn't really their underlying reason to do it. Okay, enters into new equipment financing with NYDIG for $37 million. Reduces $100 million BTC-backed credit facility to $66 million. Bitfarms, a global Bitcoin self-mining company, entered into an equipment financing agreement with initial funding of $37 million. The company reduced its $100 million Bitcoin-backed credit facility with Galaxy Digital by $34 million to $66 million via the sale of 1,500 of its Bitcoin holdings. So I just want to take a time out and talk about a couple of things here, because this represented a big fundamental shift in what they've been doing. Bitfarms basically for the last year and a half has been hodling all of the Bitcoin that they mine. And you'll see in my monthly updates, if they mine 300 or 400 Bitcoin, they're spending about 2 or 3 of them a month. So essentially, they've been very close to 100% hodling the Bitcoin that they mine. In addition to that, in January, so about 6 months ago, they bought 1,000 Bitcoin at a price of $43,000. So I think that's what got a lot of people rattled. And if we reflect back on that, I did an explainer video on that at the time. I was not too disturbed by it. I was fairly neutral on it. It did represent some risk that, in hindsight, knowing now what has happened to Bitcoin since then, that was risk that I'm sure they wish they didn't take. But however, I think they did do proper risk management, because you can see with the steps they're taking now, it was risk they could afford to take. So they took a risk. It did not play out the way they wanted it to play out, and this is what they're doing about it. Having said all that, it does not feel good to buy 1,000 Bitcoin at $43,000 and then to later have to sell them 6 months later at $22,000. So that is the unfortunate part of this. That's a real impact. That's real money lost. It has adjusted their overall short-term targets as far as exahash goes. Nothing catastrophic, and again, I think their plans remain very solid for the rest of the year, and they've been giving us updates that I think they're sticking to by and large. So again, I will dig deeper into that as we go. Okay, so here they say initial funding of $37 million or $36 million net of their closing fees has been completed, with additional funding contemplated, not committed. So they're talking about additional funding beyond this, potentially in July and October of 2022 as construction continues at the bunker and more equipment is installed. So they've borrowed $37 million. Their net borrowings really hasn't changed that much. They have a $100 million line of credit that they paid down $34 million in exchange for this $37 million of a little bit different structured, a little more long-term debt. I want to go take a look at the debt that they had to show you what was happening, and in a way, they were kind of forced to do this at this point. So this was their best option given the way things have unfolded. The company entered into a revolving credit facility up to $100 million for a term of 6 months with Galaxy Digital. This credit facility is running out at the end of June, and they do later go on to say that. So this is one of the reasons they were forced to take action over the course of the month of June. In addition to the fact that this expires shortly, it says the facility is secured by Bitcoin with the minimum value of Bitcoin pledged as collateral calculated as 143% of the amount borrowed. They need to set aside $143 million of Bitcoin to secure this $100 million. As Bitcoin continues to fall, in particular, about 10 days ago, it jumped from about 30,000 down to 20,000. Well, that changed the math on these guys quite a bit. At Bitcoin 20,000, they were going to have to increase the amount of Bitcoin that they set aside and secured to collateralize this loan. So in lieu of that, in order to get back into compliance with this loan, they basically paid down $34 million of this loan. At the same time, they got $37 million of debt that is structured a little better for the company and gives them a little more time to pay that off. So it's this 143% collateralization that has been an issue for them. It's this 143% collateralization that has turned this into an issue now that Bitcoin is down to 20,000. Yes, they could have afforded Bitcoin to go down even further. You know, to keep the full 100 million outstanding, I think they could have gone down to maybe Bitcoin 15,000. Even a temporary flash crash in Bitcoin down could have caused this to be a bigger problem. So they took preemptive measures. This thing was due in a few weeks anyway. They paid down $34 million on June 17th. Now, they put out another press release. This is just 4 days later. Bitfarm adjusts HODL strategy. Pays down Bitcoin-backed credit facility to US $38 million. Okay, so, and then it says, currently holds total of 3,349 Bitcoin. They're producing about 14 Bitcoin a day. So if we look into what they did here, this is a debt restructuring situation. So I do believe they're properly managing their risk. However, you're going to see, I think this is delaying the amount of exahash that they had targeted a little bit. So we'll talk about that. There was no consequences for this. However, it is by no means the end of the world. So now they're saying over the past week, Bitfarms has sold a total of 3,000 Bitcoin for approximately $62 million. So they sold another 1,500 Bitcoin for a total of 3,000. That leaves them, as they set up here, with 3,349 Bitcoin. And you can see by paying this loan down to 38 million, that means they paid another $28 million down on this credit facility, leaving only $38 million left. So they paid 62% of the credit facility down. So here's the corporate statement. In consideration of extreme volatility in the markets, we have continued to take action to enhance liquidity and to deleverage and strengthen our balance sheet. Specifically, we sold 1,500 more Bitcoin and are no longer hodling all our daily Bitcoin production. So that's a change right there. They went a year and a half without selling Bitcoin. While we remain bullish on long-term Bitcoin price appreciation, this strategy change enables us to focus on our top priorities of maintaining our world-class mining operations and continuing to grow our business in anticipation of improved mining economics. Okay, so you can see it looks like they're telling us they just sold a bunch of their Bitcoin and they are now going to back away from this 100% HODL strategy. So you may see them do something more like Riot does, which is, Riot does something in the neighborhood of sell a half of their Bitcoin mined, keep a half of their Bitcoin mined. So I don't know that that's what Bitfarms is going to do, but they're saying they are going to start selling Bitcoin on a monthly basis for the time being. Then they say as of June 20th, 2022, Bitfarms held $42 million of cash and 3,349 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $67 million at a Bitcoin price of $20,000. So that leaves them with about $110 million of liquidity. And in addition to that, they go on to say Bitfarms is in compliance with all its credit obligations. So that was a key part of why they did all this. They needed to remain in compliance. They had several different potential options on how to do so. This, I think, was the most effective. I believe, and again, this is just me speculating, so please remember, this is not financial advice. I have no inside information, but they did say in their first press release that they were contemplating additional financing in July and October. So to me, it would make sense for them to get some more standard long-term debt that is secured by their equipment and pay off the rest of this $100 million line of credit. There's $38 million left, so probably with the next delivery of equipment, they could pay off most or all of that remaining balance. And then their $100 million line of credit, which was due June 30th. What I'm looking for at this point is two main things to see how this all plays out. Number one, does Bitfarms get another loan in July and or October in order to pay off this $100 million credit facility and move to a more traditional equipment-based long-term loans versus the Bitcoin-based line of credit, which is highly volatile, subject to the price of Bitcoin. So they just yesterday, I believe, finished installing equipment to get them from 3.4 exahash up to 4 exahash. So they had come out in their last monthly operational update and said that they are now targeting 6 exahash by the end of the year. Previously, they had been targeting 8 exahash by the end of the year. So I think this is one of the short-term ramifications of everything that happened here. So I think this massive downward pressure in the price of Bitcoin has caused them to delay their plans a little bit. Instead of being at 8.0 exahash by the end of the year, I think they expect now to be at 6.0 exahash by the end of the year. However, they do go on and say they leave the possibility open, right? There's half a year left. So if the price of Bitcoin improves just a little, they do have the equipment and facilities to get to 7.2 exahash, and they still hope to get to 8 exahash. However, right now they're only committing to 6 exahash because based on current conditions, that's what they're able to commit to. So again, the two things I'll be looking for is to see, do they renew this $100 million line of credit? And if so, is it secured against Bitcoin, or are they able to switch the security to maybe some of their machines, which would be a lot more stable? And then the second thing is, do they get additional financing when the next machines arrive? I'm just going to take a quick look at the chart and see what ramifications this has had. And I will tell you, I don't really think this has affected the price of their stock very much. On June 13th, which was a Monday, their stock gapped down quite a bit. Now that was prior to any of these press releases, and that was due to the fact that over the weekend, Bitcoin broke its long-term line of support at 29,000, and it had gone down to about 22,000 on its way down to 20,000 a few days later. So you can see that jumped this down to a new 52-week low for Bitfarms. They're trading at $1.33 as we speak right now. They've been plus or minus that ever since Bitcoin got down to $20,000. So you can see the price action over the period of time they put out both of these press releases. They really have not changed very much. In fact, June 16th still remains their all-time low, the day before they announced either of these items. So they are trading within a range. It seems like this was already priced in. The reduction in Bitfarms stock price is very consistent with all of the rest of the Bitcoin miners. Again, this was not ideal in my opinion. I don't think this was plan A by any stretch of the imagination. It does look like they did a proper amount of risk assessment so that in the event that things didn't play out the way they planned, they are able to continue and go on with their long-term plans of getting to 8 exahash. It looks like for now, that's going to be 6 instead of 8, and we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. It's a pretty big shakeup. It's a change in their fundamental philosophy regarding the hodling of Bitcoin, at least on a temporary basis. I do think it's more of a change based on the fact that Bitcoin has plummeted and their hand was forced, in my opinion. However, I do think they're doing the right thing and really the only thing they can do at this point to go forward. So I look for more news from Bitfarms over the coming weeks and months. The next time more big news comes out, I will definitely do an update. So thanks so much for watching. And remember, if you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.